When we So now when we usually think about something that's cutting edge, that is at the state of the art, right? At the vanguard. It's out there so much that there is nothing beyond it because it's at the cutting edge. So whatever the best is out there, that's what this is. Until the new and improved model comes up, and then we're gonna be right there with that too, right? That's what the cutting edge. And we look at the historical context for the book of Hebrews. This is a conversation from within. This is Hebrews who are Israelites talking to other Hebrews. So this wasn't necessarily for the Gentile community. It was for those who kept the faith and those who were converted into what would become Christianity, right? And so there was a tension between these two communities because of the Messiah and who would accept the Messiah and who would not, right? And so this is dated around 70 years after the resurrection of Christ. And so what happens with Hebrews is in this cutting edge reality. Let me just mention what God is doing like at the cutting edge. In this past month, I think I've done maybe 2 months, let's say 90 days, I've been to a dozen funerals. And that's a lot of death. And when you are an empath, I'm an empath, so you feel everything very deeply, right? My mother used to say I could enjoy eating an orange to no end. Just anything that I do, it's just let him do it because he's an empath, right? So the best thing about it is you pick up on the senses of folks and you're sensitive to them and you can kind of discern. But the worst thing is you pick up on the senses and you oversensitive and you are taking a lot into your body. And so how do we throw off some of that trauma? Even though with the death, we know that it's not the final word, right? Because as I love in 1 Thessalonians, it says, brothers and sisters, I would not have you uninformed regarding those who sleep. For we do not grieve as those who have no hope, because of what God did in the resurrection of Jesus. That same God will resurrect our mortal bodies. And so we know that and we believe that, and it still hurts. And sometimes it hurts like hell. Can we talk about it? Even though it's not hell, it feels like it can, because we are conflicted. You know, Paul talks about to be present in the body and absent, be present in the spirit and absent from the body. It's always this tension that we are in. So sometimes in the praise, and I know we praise in a variety of ways, you know, and we should tell everybody turn to your neighbor. I don't do that. Tell 10 people, I understand folks do the hokey pokey and turn yourself. I don't, okay, no, right? But sometimes, right, I'm not trying to diminish when folks do that, right? But sometimes if we could just stand and just let that spirit move, because sometimes we're so intellectual, and I'm intellectual, we're intellectual, but let that spirit move too. Don't allow our intellect to impede on the move of God when it's happening. And the past few Sundays, we've just seen different iterations of how God moves. And they have stayed with me through the week, and it's salient, and it's the very thing that we need to dislodge some of this trauma in our bodies. Sometimes you can dance it out, or even when you get your praise song at home, get them dance, move with it. You know how to dance that's godly. You at home, you dance how you want to, right? Right. I mean, just that we understand that. So here we are in Hebrews, and we talk about this word of God is living and sharper than any two-edged sword, right? Even to the dividing of sunder the soul from the spirit. Now that's a sharpness that you just really. And so what does it mean, the first point, when we think about this word being this sharp? And because of what happens in time. So let's look at time. There are three different, well, there are actually two understandings that we have biblically of time. The first way we understand time is chronos, right? And that's chronological order. It is a march, it's history. It is, we are in 2021, that's chronos, right? 2021 years since the resurrection of Christ, right? But then there's another time. It's called kairos. And kairos is God's time, Kairos, and we call it God's kairotic time. And that's when, for example, of kairos is, you have been struggling or dealing with something for 5, 10, 20, 40, 60 years, and then God's grace will come in. And in the moment of time, you'll get delivered from that thing. Don't care what it is. God will come in and do, through God's grace, what could not otherwise be done. But that's us positioning ourselves not only in a belief, but in an expectancy. And God will come in and do that thing. And sometimes you can get healed in a way, especially you talk about deliverance, to where God will remove the desire. And not only are you delivered, I don't even want that thing no more. When I thought I couldn't live, I'm feeling good this morning, without that thing at one time, I'd wake up thinking about it. Go to bed thinking about it. In the midnight hour, wake up in a cold sweat about that thing. And my thing and your thing, but like I always say, but you at least had a thing. You might not got it now, or you might visit with it. You ain't even got to visit with it. Because God said, I'll wipe it. I'll remove the desire from your heart. Because a lot of times what happens is out of a deficit that we develop that anyway, out of woundedness. And all we ever want is just give me something for the pain. It's the pain, because life can be so painful. Folks betray you. Folks smile in your face, talk about you like a dog. Folks believe things about you never did. Or some things I did do, but folks won't forgive me. Right? Or always, I remember. Well, some memories can go back on other folks too. The same one who remembered everything, I never will forget it. You forget what you did? Oh, that's under the blood. Don't the blood still run warm for me? Oh yeah. So this thing, but in this other sense of time, it's called the zeitgeist. And so that's the spirit of the age. So right now, there's a zeitgeist that's happening in our country, culturally and politically, around people feeling aggrieved, people feeling like someone is taking something from me, and people being angry, even though it's not true. But if I think you did something to me, if I think I'm missing something, because it's out of scarcity. And what the enemy would always to have us to believe, it's never enough. You can't get enough of nothing. I don't care how much you got piled up, you can't get enough. You think about historically, even biblically, Pharaoh, the one who had everything, what is his nightmares about? I ain't gonna have enough in my barns. I ain't gonna have enough barns. Because I'm traumatized. And the more I get, the more I want. And I'm never satisfied. And then with that scarcity comes fear. If I'm afraid, somebody gonna pay. Because you're not gonna take what I have or what we got. We're gonna do something to you. And then that fear, because of the greed. See, it's the greed. And even when you are when your success is measured about what you could accumulate financially, you operating out of the wrong model anyway. What I heard at Sister Aisha's homegoing yesterday was how she loved somebody. Loved herself first, right? And then could demonstrate that love. And when At the end of the game, the king and the pawn go in the same box and check. All go in the same box and in the same ground. I don't care if you have a vault as big as this, you still in the ground. And what did you do for the least of these? How did you try to love somebody? How did you share in your humanity? And how did you walk outside of your fear of rejection? Because some of us are angry because we really hurt. So I'd rather be angry, because if I'm angry, I don't never have to deal with the pain. And the pain is so deep that I don't think I would know who I am without it, because it happened so early. It happened so in such a thoroughgoing manner. I had so many people to tell me that I wasn't gonna never be nothing. You're just like your daddy. You're just like so-and-so, right? And how am I just like? These are folks speaking into your life. And now you gotta, how do you throw that off and say what the word said about you? It said that you are more than a conqueror, right? You shall be the head and not the tail. You shall lend and not borrow, and all nations will call you blessed. You are a child of the Most High God, and God loves you right where you are. Amen. Right where you are. A lot of times we keep asking for God for forgiveness, but that God already forgave us. We won't forgive ourselves. And if you quit doing it, I'm talking about the thing that you need the forgiveness for anyway, then you can forgive yourself. But now once you even quit doing it, now I can't quit not forgiving myself, because I think I got to pay another kind of way. That's what grace does. Comes in and does for us what we're not able to do for ourselves. So because now I become toxic because I don't believe that. So now every relationship that or would-be relationship, I'm going to toxify it. And I might get slick about it too. I didn't do that. Why you say it? I didn't mean it like that. You always take everything personal. I know what I said. I know how I want you to feel. Because I'm hurt. I want you to hurt. And I get mad, I bring up everything I can think of and then say I didn't mean it. You had to mean it. You've been saving it. You ever have folks, you know, they've been saving up stuff on I done saved up stuff on your me. Give me a paper towel, give me a napkin. I can cry before you finish. Can I go get some water and come back and you do round 2 on me? but that's because out of the pain. Folks, what God is continuing, the Spirit of God, is that this is a matter of life and death. All of it. All of it. And this is not anything morbid, right? This is about, so we all have to go that way, but it's not going that way. How did you live? And how do you live your daily life? And who else are you trying to enrich their quality of life just by being human and being redeemed human beings? That's the power. So I've kind of gone a lot into the point too with this around, but the thing I'm gonna talk about is when this sword is able to divide and understand the intent from the thoughts. Let's talk about that for a minute. The intent and thoughts of the heart. Now, sometimes I have forgotten to do something, but I intended to. I just forgot. They say, well, charge it to my head and not to my heart, right? I intended to. But some things I say I intend to do, but I don't really. I wasn't gonna do it, no way. But if I need to say that to get you to stop and then so I can continue to do what I'm doing, I tell you I'm gonna do it. You ever see folks like that? And then you ask them, hey, I thought you said, oh yeah, I'm gonna get to it. Sometimes we be in relationships 20, 30, 40 years. I thought you said, at what point do we figure, I don't think they want to do it? Because it's not my intentions, but I know what I'm supposed to say. We've been scripted. I know how to say enough to stay in it. So I can keep doing and you can keep doing. And guess what? You got some intents that you're doing that I asked you about that you won't do. That we just agree to be toxic together. And we'll save up stuff on each other. And then when it come a time of reckoning, you take your turn, I take mine. And then we both got to go emotionally. We need to go to get triage because we bleeding. We're going to cut each other to pieces and say that's normal. I'd rather be by myself. That's why I'm by myself right now. I ain't gonna, listen, let me tell you something. I'm healing. I've been cut so bad. And I do if we cut, I cut a little bit too. I'm not gonna do that. Can somebody hear me this one? Can y'all see it on Zoom? Can somebody? Okay, so here's the thing. And what healing takes place, sometimes you just gotta sit still. Be still and know that God is God. And what God will do is God will send so much love your way. I've been loved so much here at Sea Hubble. I didn't even know I needed to be loved like this, right? And sometimes you get love to the point it's like, what I don't even know if the reciprocity that's now just bask in it, right? But then everything you do will be informed by it. So now, even when you're in traffic, what you would have said and done, you don't even feel like doing. You might do a little something, but nothing like what you would have done if you weren't, you're not following them 3 lights no more, right? To say, I'm gonna roll the window down and say one more thing to you, right? Because now that love won't let me. Love won't let me go. It won't turn me loose. And so when something else tries to get on me, that love will come in and move that thing and show itself. So I'll leave you with this. Here's what God is really showing in this thing about, and this is the word that's referred to in Exodus. See, this isn't logos when we talk about Jesus. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld him as the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. This is the word, the same word that in the beginning, when Yahweh spoke the word, let there be, right? And when he said, when God said, let there be, the word and the breath proceeded from the mouth of the Father. And so they both had creative properties, and the earth was void and without form. And that word went over it, and creation came as the word and the breath traveled. So one was not subordinate to the other. That word would become the word made flesh. And that breath is the Ruach, which is the Holy Spirit. And they both proceed from the mouth of the Father. Ain't that beautiful? Right? And so, but this word is the word that Yahweh told Moses to go tell Egypt, when they're coming out of Egypt, to go tell Pharaoh to let my people go. So what happens is, the Israelites come out of Egypt and they know that God had brought them out, but they've been in slavery so long that even in the wilderness, I'm gonna act like a slave. Because I don't know. I'm saying I don't know no better, but I do. But it said sometimes I've been down so long that down don't feel like down no more. You done drugged me so bad, I'm scared to get up. If I get up, you're gonna knock me back down, so I just stay laying down. You ever been like that? Now get up, dust yourself off, pin your shoulders back, and look to the hills from whence my help cometh. And know that God say, though you slay me, yet will I serve thee. But it's not even God that's slaying us. But we've been slayed because we have had a betrayal within our own being. Because the children of Israel did not have to wander in the wilderness for that length of time. They could have gone into Canaan, the land of Canaan early on, but guess what? They fought Moses and fought Joshua. And see, that's what this text in chapter 4, Joshua is telling them. The threat wasn't from without. It was never the Canaanites and what they could do to you that was your problem. Your problem is you never believe what God said, so you never walked in it. And so we want to blame everybody else for why I didn't go into the land that flows with milk and honey. What they might do to me. What they gonna do to you that ain't been done? No, what are they going to do to you that you haven't already done to yourself? Okay, I won't succeed. And so I'm gonna make sure that you can't stop me from succeeding. So I'll self-sabotage. Now, that'll show you. Now I got the power. You got the power to what? To live a dog's life, to have fear and doubt, and really, I know I'm doing it to myself. So there's some guilt and there's some shame, but I can't get to it because I would have to be too real to myself to get to that. So I'll say, well, they won't let me. I tell folks, make them tell you no. Make them tell you no. Don't tell yourself no. And they tell you no, I want to know why you said no. What do I need? What am I lacking? What credential? What needs to happen for this no to become a yes? And that's the preparation that comes, because this faith isn't. So how do we live into our faith? That is, there's a faith claim that we say, but how do you live into it? That is the actual doing. That is the discipleship. That's to get up and do it even when you don't feel like it. That's to study and to show thyself approved. A workman need not be ashamed to rightly divide the word of truth. So if you can rightly divide it, you can wrongly divide it. And what we have gone, we've got some bad, operating out of some bad theology that we want to put everything on God and nothing on us. So when, in order for them to, the children of Israel to get out of slavery, here comes Moses. On Exodus chapter 3, floating down the Nile, right? Right? But Puah and Shiphrah, read chapter 2, these two midwives, right? Wouldn't not let these children live. And Moses gets to get floated in a basket, and they tell Pharaoh, these children are not like Egyptians, right? They leap, and so we're not going to commit a genocide against them, right? So they told the king what the king needs to hear, but guess what? I'm still progenerating. I'm still letting this come through, and enough of you come through, it'd be another generation. So many people had to die in the wilderness because they couldn't believe of a land that flowed with milk and honey. Couldn't conceive it. Couldn't conceive of it. And where there is no, my people perish for their lack of knowledge, where there is no vision, lack of imagination. Some of us, we're too scared to dream that we can be free. I don't know what I'm free, you know, they're gonna try to get me back in captivity. You already in it. Get out, get free, and guess what? And go back and deconstruct the system that had you in captivity. I know I can get free, but it's just me being free. That's like salvation. Me knowing Jesus Christ is my personality, that's fine, but how about you? Our salvation is tied up together. We are saved in the aggregate. So this is about, Jesus didn't say I'm coming back for a person, I'm coming back for a people, right? And so as the people of God, we have to walk in this kind of authority. And there's no difference between what we are saying here than when we go to the school board and say, because this informs, this is how we live into our faith claim, because we want quality education for every child, regardless of what zip code they were born into. I live in 37208, which you all know is the highest, is Jefferson Street corridor, incarceration rates for Black males in the nation, between the ages of 18 and I think 30 or somewhere. Anyway, and we're saying, do you think that people are just more violent in 37208? Do you think that people just want to commit more crimes in 37208? No, there's a direct correlation with poverty and crime. And once you decrease poverty, there's a equal decrease in crime. So we've got to create resources that folks can live. There's some folks, no matter if you give them a job or not, they ain't gonna work it. I'm not talking about a few, right? And that exists. And I want to name, there's some folks who just want to just try something else. They're not gonna do it. But that number is in the single digits and low single digits. I'm talking about 90-something% of folks who, if you got a living wage job and an opportunity, they'll show up and have health care and affordable housing and all the things that we all need and deserve. And so part of the Great Commission is going out into the world, is helping to make this accessible for folks who are at the margins, right? Because it's about a people, right? It's always about a people. And this love has to show up in public. Last thing Dr. King talked about, he said, justice is what love looks like in public. Yeah, right? In public, right? Because it's about a love of all humanity, that resources become accessible, right? That's what love looks like. So greater love hath no man or woman than to lay down their life. So this is part of picking up our cross, making all the things accessible to folks as we demonstrate the love of God. And so then what evangelism looks like, oh, you don't have to go and tell anybody what you believe, right? They'll come to you. and it's in a quiet, still voice. You can tell them, who is your hope of glory? How shall we call him? He is Emmanuel, the promise of ages. That's what I have for you this morning. Amen.